bottles can both say full synthetic on the label. They can meet the exact same specs on the back and still protect your engine very differently. I see this confusion every single day at my parts counter. People think synthetic is like a finish line. Once you reach that category, you've bought the best protection possible. In reality, synthetic is just a starting category. It's a legal classification, not a quality guarantee. If you're choosing your oil based on the word alone, you might be leaving your engine with very little margin for error. Most drivers are taught a simple rule. Conventional is bad, synthetic is good. But once they make the switch, they stop asking questions. But the industry wants you to stop there. It's easier to sell a one-size-fits-all solution. Think about it like buying a 3/8" socket set. You can go to a discount bin and buy a set for 15 bucks. And legally, it's a 3/8" socket. But then you look at a professional grade set, it's a different alloy, it's forged differently, and it's built to handle 100 foot-pounds of torque without cracking. Both are labeled 3/8". One is built to meet the measurement, and one is built to handle the work. Synthetic oil is exactly the same. One is built to meet a minimum spec, the other is built to handle stress. And engines don't care about labels, they care about stress. This is where people ask two really good questions. Where does semi-synthetic fit, and what actually makes something full synthetic in the first place? Here's the part that most people don't realize. There's no chemical cutoff. There's no rule that says an oil has to be a certain percentage synthetic to earn the label. A synthetic blend just means it's a mix, and there's no minimum requirement for how much synthetic has to be in it. And when it comes to full synthetic, that definition changed years ago. Back in the 90s, Mobil challenged Castrol. Mobil argued that only lab-built oils, that's what we call Group 4 PAO, should be allowed to use the word synthetic. Castrol argued that highly refined petroleum oils, Group 3, performed similar enough that the term should apply. The ruling didn't say oils were the same, it said the marketing term could be used for both. From that point on, the definition of synthetic stopped being chemical and became legal. And that's why today you can have two bottles that both say 100% full synthetic, even though one is refined petroleum and the other is engineered in a lab. It's not a scam, it's just how the category evolved. But it does mean the burden shifts to the buyer to understand what they're actually getting. You don't see the difference on a fresh oil change. You see it at mile 4,000 when the work starts to show. In my store, I see the results of low margin oils all the time. It starts with things like sticking variable valve timing solenoids, where the oil can't handle the heat and left deposits in those tiny oil passages. But sludge in the ring packs is a silent killer. Your piston has oil control rings. Their job is to scrape the excess oil off the cylinder wall and send it back into the crankcase. When that low margin synthetic breaks down, it turns into a sticky varnish. That varnish glues those rings into their grooves. Once they're stuck, they can't spring out and touch the cylinder wall. Now, instead of scraping the oil away, they let it pass right by. That oil stays in the combustion chamber, gets burned up, and goes out the tailpipe. That's why an engine with no leaks can still lose a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. Your oil failed, your ring's stuck, and now the engine is slowly eating itself. And that's what people say, but I use synthetic. And they did. They just used the one built for the measurement, not the workload. If you're driving a non-turbo car in perfect weather for 15 minutes at a time, the cheap stuff is fine. But the gap becomes a canyon when you deal with things like turbos. These bearings get hot enough to cook low-grade oil into a solid carbon almost instantly. That's called coking. Short trips where fuel dilutes the oil and wears down the additive. And Florida heat. High ambient temps mean your oil is working harder before you even turn the key. In those conditions, that full synthetic label doesn't matter. The quality of your oil does. There is no one-size-fits-all oil. The right choice is a balance of three things: your engine's design, how you drive it, and your budget. If you're on a tight budget and driving a basic commuter, a standard synthetic is a massive step up from conventional. But if you're pushing a turbo engine through stop-and-go traffic, spending that extra $10 or $20 on high-quality oil isn't an upsell, it's cheap insurance. My goal isn't to get you to buy the most expensive bottle, it's to get you to buy the one that fits the work you're doing. If you want to see exactly how I break these categories down, I've laid it all out in my oil guide. It's on my site. It's the same logic I use when I stock my own shelves. And if you don't need the guide, just remember this. The label tells you it passed the gate. It doesn't tell you how it'll finish the race. If this helped, hit subscribe. Next video, I'm breaking down why even perfect engines burn oil and how the wrong formulation makes it worse. I'll see you then.